Soccer is a sport loved by many around the world, but of those fans and players, how many know what physics is involved? What is projectile motion in soccer?
Projectile motion in soccer, I guess, would be like when you kick the ball.
What is projectile motion in soccer?
I don't know. It's when you kick the ball and it goes, it projects, it moves.
Oh my gosh, wait, hang on, let me think of an answer.
What is projectile motion in soccer?
It's like projectile vomit.
What is projectile motion in soccer?
I don't even know what projectile motion is.
Projectile motion is when an object experiences only gravity acting upon it. In other words, air resistance is negligible. With air resistance considered negligible, the horizontal velocity of the object remains constant throughout the entire path. Vertical motion is acted upon by the acceleration due to gravity, negative 9.80 meters per second squared.
There are two types of projectile motion, half path and full path. In soccer, most of the time you see full path. This happens when the goalie gets possession of the ball and then punts it down the field.
Projectile motion full path is when the soccer ball begins and ends at the same height, while its travel through the air forms an upside-down parabola. When the ball is kicked, the initial y velocity is at its greatest amount. Horizontal velocity is also present. As the ball nears its peak, the y velocity decreases just a little, but the horizontal velocity remains constant. At the very peak of the ball's path, the vertical velocity is equivalent to 0 and still has the same horizontal velocity. On the way down, the y velocity picks up a bit, actually equivalent to the amount mirrored on the way to the peak. When the ball touches the ground, it has reached the same height, and the y velocity final is equivalent to the negative of the y velocity initial. This last step is only true if the ball ends at the same height. Throughout the entire path, horizontal velocity remains constant. Do you remember at the beginning of the video when I said air resistance could be considered negligible? Well, that might not always be the case. If air resistance isn't considered negligible, the horizontal velocity will no longer be constant throughout the path of the object. The vertical motion will no longer remain constant at negative 9.80 meters per second squared, but will vary. The overall path of the ball will take less time and will reach a smaller distance both vertically and horizontally. The greater the velocity, the greater the air resistance.
And that's the physics of soccer.
Nice.